What if the flood of Noah was not just about human sin? What if it was about something far worse, something so dangerous, so corrupt that God himself had to reset the entire world? The Bible mentions them only briefly, 4 verses in Genesis, a few scattered references elsewhere. But those verses describe beings so terrifying that the earth became unrecoverable. They were called the Nephilim, giants, mighty men, hybrids, and according to ancient belief, they were not fully human. Let's begin where most sermons rush past. Genesis 6, 1-4. When men began to multiply on the face of the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward. This passage does not explain itself. It simply states the event as if the original readers already understood, which raises the question, who were the sons of God, and why did their union create something so catastrophic? Who are the sons of God? Biblical language matters. In the Old Testament, the phrase sons of God appears multiple times. Let's examine them. Job 1:6. The sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord. Job 2:1. Job 38:7. When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. In every uncontested usage, sons of God equals angelic beings. Not humans, not kings, not priests, angels. Ancient Jewish understanding. This interpretation did not begin on YouTube. It existed long before Christianity. The Book of Enoch, quoted in Jude, Dead Sea Scrolls, early Jewish rabbis, early church fathers like Justin Martyr and Irenaeus. They believed fallen angels descended, violated divine boundaries, and produced hybrid offspring. Humans sinned many times before the flood, so why this judgment? Why not another warning? Why not another prophet? Genesis 6:11-12. The earth was corrupt before God and filled with violence. All flesh had corrupted their way. Not just humanity, all flesh. That phrase matters. A genetic crisis? Noah is described as blameless in his generations. This phrase is not moral language alone. The Hebrew word tamim implies whole, unmixed, complete. Some scholars believe Noah's lineage was genetically uncorrupted. In other words, if this corruption continued, fully human beings would cease to exist, and the Messiah could never come. Genesis calls them mighty men, men of renown, but Numbers gives us more detail. Numbers 13:33. We saw the Nephilim, and we seemed like grasshoppers in our own sight. These weren't metaphors. Israelites were seasoned warriors. They had seen armies, yet they refused to enter the land because of what they saw. Giants after the flood? This is where the mystery deepens. If the flood wiped them out, why do we see Anakim, Rephaim, Emim, Zamzumim, Goliath, Og of Bashan? Og's bed was over 13 feet long. Were these descendants, or was the forbidden act repeated? 2 New Testament passages are critical. 2 Peter 2:4-5. God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them in chains of darkness in the days of Noah. Jude 1:6. Angels who did not keep their proper domain, he has kept in eternal chains. These angels are not Satan. They are not demons roaming freely. They are imprisoned. Why? Because they crossed a line God would never allow again. The Nephilim ate, fought, reproduced, died, which means they were biological. Biology implies structure. Structure implies DNA. Now here is where we must tread carefully. This is speculative, but consider this. What if the pre-flood world was radically different? Atmospheric pressure, oxygen levels, human longevity, biological potential. And what if post-flood humanity was deliberately limited? Genesis 3:3, their days shall be 120 years. Before the flood, humans lived nearly 900 years. After, lifespans collapsed. Why? One possibility. Long life allowed corruption to entrench itself deeply. Shorter life, less time to corrupt the earth. Faster generational reset. Contained damage. Let's be clear, there is no verified scientific evidence that fossils belong to Nephilim, but there is a question science cannot answer. What happened before the flood? A global cataclysm would destroy fossil context, reorder geological layers, erase biological records. Some Christians speculate that pre-flood remains could be misinterpreted through evolutionary frameworks. This is not proof, it is a question, and questions are not heresy. Jesus made a chilling statement, Matthew 24:37. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Most people think that means sin, violence, wickedness. But Jesus didn't say how it was wicked. The days of Noah were marked by boundary crossing, hybrid corruption, rebellion against creation order. Modern humanity is once again redefining life, crossing biological boundaries, playing God with genetics. History may not repeat, but it rhymes. The Nephilim story is not about giants, it's about limits. God sets boundaries between heaven and earth, between spirit and flesh, between creation and creator. And when those boundaries are violated, judgment follows. The flood was not just punishment, it was preservation, and the Nephilim were the reason. Like, share, and subscribe.